Now that you've seen the difference between blind running and speed running, I'm going to summarize why I think this stage has good level design. Before knowing the layout, you probably go through the level at running pace or walking pace. However, when you know the layout, you will use spin dash pace to go through the level as fast as possible. On top of which, some of the faster routes require you to use spin dash while jumping to reach platforms further away. To top it off, parkour adds an interesting dynamic to the level design by adding more alternate pathways and methods to progress through the stage. Now I'm going to address the arguments pointing out flaws in this game and showcase how these flaws are not present in this stage. I'm starting off with Somecallmejohnny's review of this game. He says, as soon as we head into Tropical Coast, the first issue with the level design slowly reveals its ugly self. The levels start getting too fucking long. And as soon as we head into Frozen Factory, the levels start getting really fucking long. Levels become tiring, you'll be getting hand cramps, you'll become easily agitated. In Sonic games on stationary consoles, you cannot leave the game for a longer period of time and pick up where you left off. However, with the 3DS you can pause wherever you want in the stage, fold the 3DS and pick up exactly where you left off days later. He says, focus lies on marathon levels, an insane amount of monotony, too many instances of trial and error. I don't see monotony in this stage. Various ways to reach the goal, various tropes and various ways to master these tropes are all present. Besides the section where the dragon shoots fireballs at you while you ride the rocket, I don't see where the formula of trial and error is applied. Do bring up examples of these in the comment section if you've found any. He also says tons of places where using parkour over bottomless pits is mandatory. There is a tutorial where you can practice parkour over a pit full of spike balls. When you've got the ins and outs of the parkour system, you can return to this stage. However, it's not a difficult system to begin with. Here's a run-through of some useful features regarding the parkour system. To keep on a wall when you're parkouring forward or backward, keep analog stick towards the wall. To get off a wall while parkouring, just push analog stick towards the opposite direction of where Sonic is headed. In other words, if you want to get off while parkouring upwards, then pull stick downwards. When wishing to get off while running forward, push stick backwards, and vice versa. When parkouring upwards, you are only granted one spin dash to pick up your speed again. However, when parkouring forward or backwards, you can spin dash as many times as you wish. A wall facing you is mostly, if not always, going to force you into parkouring upwards, whereas a wall facing left or right is most likely going to force you into parkouring forward or backwards. If there is anything else you'd like to know, then by all means, ask away. The next review I'm going to attempt to refute is taken from Metacritic. I've chosen Videogamer.com's review because it gave the game a very similar rating as the average rating of all reviews of this game. Metacritic gave this game a 59 out of 100, whereas Daniel Keynes, the reviewer of Videogamer.com, gave this game a 6 out of 10. Keynes says, Sonic, while generally controlling with more grace, will again sometimes ignore what you actually want him to do due to another dodgy homing attack system, leaving you to blurt out profanities like an old sailor. No profanities, as the so-called dodgy homing attack system only becomes a problem in a very small number of stages. If he means the multi-targeting aspect of homing when not desired, my response to that is that it doesn't affect the player at all. This is because Sonic will most likely home in first on the one he is turned towards, and all of the following homing attacks keep Sonic invincible, so you won't be harmed while using the multi-targeting homing attack. Only time it could be dodgy is when homing attacking an enemy out of bounds, but I really doubt an enemy would be placed somewhere without leading anywhere. By that, I mean that a badnik would not be placed where a platform is not reachable after having executed the homing attack. In such cases, a trail of badniks tends to exist so you can chain homing attacks in order to reach another platform. On top of which, you are granted an extra double jump after having executed a homing attack, even if you did double jump prior to the homing attack. He also mentioned that there is a significant number of insta-death moments. If you've found any instances which prove the claims of the reviewer, then please do inform me about these. I will most likely return to the other parts of the review in another video. This is because I didn't find the rest of the review applicable to this stage. Next up is IGN's review of the game. The one who made the review is named Joso Taro. My apologies if I pronounced his name wrong. He says, Sonic's sensation of speed is mostly intact and most stages look impressive, but Sonic Lost World stumbles due to poor level design. Well, would I be able to pull off all these speedruns if it was poor level design? If anything, the large number of pathways in combination with the amount of master one can gain over the stage makes the stage appear as having rich level design. He says, pathways don't always make sense. Pathways don't make sense. What about these pathways don't make sense? They are quite straightforward in my opinion. At first glance they seem easy, but if you want to master them you'd need to think a bit more advanced. He also says, and all the momentum building tools in the world won't save a game from so many awkward starts and stops. Which awkward starts and stops? As far as I can tell, the pacing is quite constant. The only times the pace is broken is when bouncing off a large spring which brings you to the next section of the level, but those don't seem awkward. He says, despite an interesting new direction for the 90s mascot, Sonic Lost Worlds barely scratches its potential and reuses boss battles to an uncomfortable degree. The only boss battle related thing in this stage was the mechanical dragon, however it only spits fireballs in certain parts of the stage. This only serves to spice up the experience. The total amount of focus on boss battles is pretty low, and you only fight the same boss twice. This includes the boss rush in the last world. By the way, the fireballs headed towards you when on a rocket only homes in on you for a second or so. After that second, the fireball will stop homing in on you and you'll have enough time to steer the rocket away from being hit. I hope to return to this review in following videos. Now on to some of Speedrun456's complaints of the stage. He and the others speaking in the video seemingly disliked the rocket sections because they used the gyroscope. Gyroscope controls for steering the rocket is not like the special stages. Here, you only twist the 3DS in its place, unlike the special stages where you have to turn yourself and not just the 3DS. On top of which, you only twist the 3DS slightly, not much at all. Around the 31-minute mark, he calls the parkour section disgusting. He did it this way. However, this section requires skill so as not to end up the way he did. Don't pull the analog stick to any direction until on the next wall, where you are to keep the stick towards the wall so as not to fall off. Next up, I'll be doing Skyroad Zone 2. Please rate this video so I know whether this video has fulfilled its purpose or not. I'd also appreciate you leaving a comment saying whether this video has changed your view of this stage. If it has, and you think it could change the views of others,